Which is also good. I'm becoming
We're ready? I'd like to call the meeting, the regular meeting of the Gilbert School Corporation for Wednesday, April 22nd. We can start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Teresa? Oh, that's me? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our vision and mission statement.
The Gilbert School is committed to ensuring that all our students are prepared to be thoughtful and productive citizens in a complex global society. In pursuing this mission, we believe that all students can learn and be successful. All students are valued and deserve an education that addresses their academic, physical, and social-emotional needs. All students are entitled to a safe, healthy, and respectful learning environment. All the Gilbert School community members must uphold high expectations, be accountable, and demonstrate a commitment to excellence. Celebrating the heritage of the Gilbert School strengthens community pride and inspires individual accomplishments.
Thank you. I'm going to do a quick switcheroo of our public forum. We're going to have the student representatives give their reports before public comment.
I'll start. So I'll start off with spring sports, which just started a couple weeks ago. Softball, girls have started winning a couple games, hopefully looking better. Same thing with the boys. Today I was at the game. It was a close game the first couple of innings, so looking good. And then as a senior, I know a lot of us are very excited as the year is winding down, getting a lot closer to graduation date, which means like all the senior activities with, well, of course, AP exams and finals, but then there's also like the senior trip and all the kind of fun stuff that the seniors get to do.
Alright, a few weeks ago we had our NHS induction. We inducted 8 new members into the National Honor Society, and this recognizes students who exemplify scholarship, leadership, service, and character. And this evening highlighted the hard work and dedication of our inductees. A little bit about the music department. Over the last month or so, we've received some donations. Thank you to the corporation. We've received new timpani and new wireless microphones. And both of these have truly and will continue to support and help our music department. This week, we are hosting Pearson's Drama Club production of Beauty and the Beast. Shows will be tomorrow morning for Winchester Public Schools, Friday evening at 7 p.m. and Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Some upcoming performances. We're going to have our high school spring concert either April 28th or we're trying to reschedule for May 12th at 7 p.m. Our middle school band will be performing in the pep parade, which will take place on May 16th. And our middle school spring concert will be on June 2nd at 7 p.m. TGS Fest, which is a rock concert where students form their own bands and perform for a final exam grade. That will be on May 22nd at 7 p.m. And our Yellow Jacket Marching Band will be performing in the Memorial Day Parade on May 25th. Thank you.
Eighth grade just picked some of their yearbook superlatives, and some of them were like best smile, best dress, best hair, and they're all going to go in the yearbook, and we all took pictures for them. And Middle School Student Council is going to do tour guides for the incoming 7th graders, which is the now 6th graders at Pearson, on Thursday, April 23rd, and Friday, April 24th. And there is a lot of 8th grade field trips coming up soon, and some of them are the middle school Latin field trip, which is next Thursday, April 30th. The French field trip, which is April 24th, this Friday. And they're going to go to a museum, while the Latin field trip is for Latin Day, and they're going to learn about Latin, and they're going to play some fun games. Lastly, the 8th grade field trip to High Meadow is coming up in May. While the 8th graders are on the field trip, and the 7th graders will have a field day. And the 8th graders will be having fun and exciting games too.
Spring sports. Yesterday, both middle school baseball and softball teams had a game against Plum Hill. The baseball team lost 12-6, and the softball game also lost with a close game of 13-6. Ashley Lauer pitched a game, the entire game, with 13 strikeouts. Also, we're doing like a missing work thing. If you don't have any missing work, then you get to miss advisory and go out onto the field. Miss Keegan is running it. The goal of this is to give the kids a reward to do something good, such as missing work, not have any missing work. The people who do have missing work go to the teacher that they are missing work for and then make it up so their grade can be higher. Also, SBAC is coming up in early May for middle school students.
Thank you guys. Very good reports tonight. You guys are welcome to go if you want. You're welcome to stay if you really want to. But thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Make a correction, middle school game is lost 8-3.
8-3.
A little close.
Next item on the agenda that we flipped around is general public comment. The WL Gilbert School Corporation welcomes comments from the public. Please state your name and address. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes per board policy 1120. And we do have a sign-in sheet over there. You can sign in before or after you speak. If there's anyone that would like to speak.
Where do you guys want me to stand?
You can stand right there. It's fine. Wherever you're comfortable. Yep.
Okay. Hi, I'm Peyton Call, 77 Pratt Street.
Oh, wait.
Hold on, is the camera on?
The camera's on, yeah. Maybe you could stand in front of the chair, kind of like on the side. Yeah, there you go, because the camera's right there. Yeah, thank you, sorry.
Okay, Peyton Call, 77 Pratt Street. I have been made aware that later tonight you guys will be having a discussion of reducing your tuition fees to Winchester Public Schools. I think that's an excellent idea because it will allow for students like my nephew and others to continue to receive special education, to have smaller classroom sizes, and to have Winchester Public Schools to save Winchester Public Schools from the massive budget cut that our town has passed earlier this week. Thank you.
Thank you, if you could just sign in there.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I'll sign in after, if that's
Sure.
okay.
Yep.
Nora Mukarski, 605 West Wakefield Boulevard. I currently serve on the Winchester Board of Education. I'm here today with 2 handouts and to talk about what it is we don't know. Tonight you're charged with taking a look at your budget later on inside your agenda. So I'm presenting to you information that I encourage my colleagues to ask, so that way we can get information and make some educated decisions about where to go with the budget, if to go anywhere. So the first packet that I'm going to hand out to you are the questions that I have, some of the things that we don't know. Okay? I've asked my colleagues on the Winchester Board of Education to go back to look at some specific data so we can make some informed decision. The first thing I've asked is about course enrollment numbers. It's not in the regular budget presentation from the Gilbert School Corp. So I've asked my colleagues to go back and actually look at course enrollments so we can see what we're looking at in terms of the budget to develop and carry out a scope and sequence that would be meeting the needs of kids, but also meeting the needs of our taxpayers. So included in this packet, in the second page, the third page, fourth page, and fifth page, are the courses that are offered just 9 through 12. I could not find the courses for the middle school. So the only thing I have for you to get your information, the questions that you need to ask, which I encourage, is to ask what those enrollments are at the high school level. Because the biggest thing is to ask, to know enough to know what it is the questions that you need to ask. The second thing we need to ask is what are the enrollments in sports. I pulled off the webpage once again, the fall, winter, and spring sports. We've got 17 teams. We've got $172,000 proposed for those teams. As a community, I think it's important to ask the question, how many kids are enrolled in those sports? Is this a place to go for the budget to consider? Secondly, clubs and activities. Once again, $174,000 have been budgeted for it. Community, I think, and you all should want to know how many kids are enrolled in those clubs. Are all those clubs rolling? and to make some decisions based upon those programmatic pieces. The high school, 11 clubs, $112,000 sitting there as well. I did not see those numbers inside the budget presentation that was made. Secondly, on page 78 of the Gilbert School budget, stipends. Department chair stipends, coordinators, liaison, team leaders. What is the difference between all of that? Is that a possible way to go as well? Because we have 400 kids in this building. We do have a staff 7 through 12. Is there something there we could look at for cost efficiencies? And that's a very important piece. And number 5, I don't see student performance. Customarily, when you make a budget presentation, you want to showcase the things that kids are doing. Inside the budget packet goes the celebrations, including student performance. We were talking about return on investment. This community needs to know what the investment is. As taxpayers, I think that that's an important piece. These are the questions I would ask my colleagues to ask so that you are informed. There are probably reasons, but at least these are places to go to get informed. What we do know, and I'm going to hand this next piece out, is the historical appropriations. This we do know. This is on the Winchester School budget, page 16. Inside of it are the historical appropriations from the taxpayer. 55% over 15 years has been allocated to the Gilbert Public Schools or the Gilbert School Corp, and 9% to the Winchester Public Schools. So I like to use the analogy that it's all our kids.
3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's all our kids. I'm just worried about making sure every kid gets what they need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like, you need to sign into it? Anyone else that would like to speak?
I'll sign in a minute.
Yep, when you're done.
My name's Tim Strahan, and I just wanted to say that the decisions you make tonight affect all of the town. I know it's tough, the budget's tough everywhere, that you guys have your savings. I know you gotta rely on that, we don't wanna spend too much. But if both sides could come to something where we could use reserves in the town and use some of your reserves to offset a little bit this year, help everybody across the board. I think there's money coming down the pipe, probably not this year because Hartford slacks and their timing with all the budgets is off, but something will come. Who knows how much, but something is probably gonna come next year. And whatever you can do helps, as much as you can do. And I honestly think they get to that point, they go, all right, we can do this much without hurting. And then go a little bit more, because that's what the town's feeling, is that little bit of hurt. So I honestly think if it doesn't hurt a little bit, you didn't do enough. And I've talked to a lot of teachers that are scared, a lot of people around town. It's a crummy position to be in. And I know you gotta look out for Gilbert, but those kids it's gonna affect if you don't make enough cut that Dr. Lubby can make Winsted Public Schools work. It hurts all the kids. The kids that are supposed to be coming here, the kids that I'm sure you do care about, but even though they're not your students, they're gonna hurt more. And they're the ones that really your decision here tonight greatly impacts, is the young kids. That's all I have, and hopefully you'll take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The sign-ups are out there.
Hi, Rachel Maxwell. I would just like to piggyback on what he was saying. Like, the elementary school is what's being affected right now. And those kids are going to grow up and come to the school. So by them having the fundamentals at this younger age, you know, they're building blocks to the foundation of their education, is going to help you guys too when they come here. They're going to be ready for high school. So I would really appreciate it if you could try to fit us in your budget too. That would be great and help save our next generation. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Good evening. Julia Luby, obviously on behalf of the Winchester Public Schools. I just wanted to say thank you. I know Mr. Susi put on the agenda to discuss tonight the possibility of reducing tuition to help offset the $1 million cut that we experienced Monday night. That cut is enormous, and you are under absolutely no obligation to participate in it. I recognize that and respect that. I appreciate that you're discussing it tonight. The faculty, as you might imagine, is frantic. We're getting requests by the barrel full for letters of recommendation. People are terrified they're losing their jobs. It's a little bit about the grown-ups and my ability to figure out where we are and mitigate what we can, and then begin the process of figuring out who won't work here as a piece of it. The people who won't work here will have impact on the kids, and I know that that is of big importance to you all, because they are kids that will come here in time. And if they are less academically prepared, less socially and emotionally prepared, less behaviorally prepared, it will have ripple effects that will influence you. So I know you're under no obligation. I'm here and going to stay as long as it takes in case you have questions. I'm available to answer them about our budget, our program, anything you need to know. And I respect and appreciate that you're having the conversation, so thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none? Next item is call for agenda items. I would like to request we're going to add it as an action item. It was under Mike's report, but I think that due to the request to have a cut, we need to, as an action item to vote on. So if we can, I'll make a motion to add a budget discussion and possible action on a request to reduce our tuition. And let's put that, where did you want to put that in? We can put it after the approval of minutes, so between that and the committee reports. 6A, yeah.
So it's actually 6B.
Okay, so after 6.
After 6A, yeah.
6B.
But you need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Ellen.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
It's courteous. It's courteous for the program.
Yeah. Okay, so next item is employee recognition.
It is.
Yes, we have quite a few correspondence in here, so I'm going to group them together. We tried something different this year in the spring. Usually we have back to school night in the fall. We had a lot of participation. Families come, get a chance to run the building, meet teachers. And our fall event was great. Usually at the high school level, in the spring, the attendance is less, so we meaning Deb Lewis, wanted to try an exhibition night, which we held mostly in here as well as throughout the building. We had a fantastic turnout. I just want to compliment Ms. Lewis for putting that together and engaging the community, which is one of our goals. Next, I want to thank Adam Atkins, Sarah Fichette, and Scott Minerly for the musical. Not sure if you got a chance to go to the Adams Family, but it was phenomenal. For a small school, they do a great job putting on a production. The next grouping, so we had the exhibition night as one of our events. Then we had our 7th grade parent night, where we introduced the incoming 7th graders and their families. We had great attendance. It was in here. We had so many families attend. We had to bring in more chairs from classrooms because we didn't have enough seating in here. So I want to thank Patrick Brindle, who runs our school counseling program, as well as Don Crossman, Maura Hurley, and Deb Lewis, the administrative team. Mary Jo Thompson, who is also a counselor, helped run that presentation. The next event, which we actually piggybacked on the incoming 6th grade event, was Family Game Night, which was run by our math department. We had the 2nd floor. Each classroom was run by a high school student and a teacher, and families would go through and do a scavenger hunt and try different math games throughout the school. We got great feedback from that. Dr. Luby sent me an email. She had a conversation with a parent who said that it was a great event. So thank you for sharing that. It was a fantastic night. And then so that was the whole math department. So I'll run down the names quickly. There was Chris Affey, Jean Affey, Lauren Bannon, Madison Fritsch was there helping out, Sarah Gunther was there, Charlie Harback, Tina Keegan, Ewan No, Marianne Salvatore, Catherine Vanacore, and Ron Williams, who is our grant-funded math adventures, actually attended as well. So the events that we had were very well attended, which again, as we talked about at the beginning of the year, engagement was one of our goals, and that seems to be working very well.
Thank you. Next item is our correspondence.
So in your packet, you'll see letters to students congratulating them on some of their accomplishments. Ethan Cavagiani was named All-State in the music department for percussion. He went to the state capitol, and we were very proud of him and what he's accomplished. Joya Edatonche, I think I'm saying that correctly, is our for the middle school Northern Regional Festival representative. Ella Jeanette was named All-State for cheer. Addison Lilly received her 1,000-point career basketball milestone. And Evan Sheeby was achieved All-American status for wrestling. He came in 7th in the nation. And we want to compliment all those students for their achievements. And last, you have a letter in your packet from Tim Cronin, who, from the trust. This is a letter that they sent us a check for $3,270.75 for when we redid the gym. We redid the banners, and the trust auctioned off the old banners, as well as we cut up the gym floor, and our wood shop actually burned in the G. Actually, Tyler's got a sample there. So if anyone wants to purchase one, let me know. But we made a little over $3,000 of that. That's going back to the athletic department as well as the tech ed department for their efforts in that. That would be all of my correspondence.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of minutes of the regular meeting on March 18th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ellen?
I'll
thank you.
second.
Teresa? Any corrections, changes? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Next item is the budget discussion.
So after the Board of Selectmen meeting, actually maybe during, towards the end, Dr. Luby reached out to me and requested that, and shared the information that they were received a reduction of $1 million from the Board of Selectmen. Reached out and asked if we would entertain looking at our budget and potentially revisiting our budget and seeing if we could make adjustments that would help offset the tuition invoice for the town, which is what I'd like to propose to the group. I know throughout the multiple meetings that have occurred at the Board of Selectmen, at the Winchester Board of Education, it's come up a few times about asking why our board never cut our initial budget when it was first proposed by me. The reason why there wasn't reductions at that time, if you recall, we presented a very lean budget. There's really only a few things in the budget. The main driver was health insurance, which we talked about, contractual obligations. We wanted to reinstate a custodian that was in the budget the previous year, not in the budget this year, but our overtime was jacked up so much that it makes sense to put it back in so we can get rid of that overtime. And then the last thing that was in the budget was 2 instructional aides. So at the middle high school, we do not have any instructional, non-special education instructional aides. None. We have no support. We are also dealing with the SBAC scores in the middle school, and the state has contacted us about supporting us. And if we don't address them soon, we could go on and the state might get more involved. So to address that, we put in 2 instructional aides to help us address specifically our math scores for next year. So that was our budget. There was nothing else in there. So the discussion was quick because there was a lot to talk about. Now, the town Board of Education is stuck with a very high reduction, and difficult times require difficult measures. That being said, out of the things that we're looking at, so the insurance was our biggest driver. We talked about looking at self-insured when we first looked at the budget the first time. And we discussed the consequences of going to self-insured, which is, it's a gamble. So the way self-insured works, we become the third-party administrator. So we pay every bill that our teachers go, or their families go, every week. Where we save money is that we're not paying a third-party administrator to manage that. So we would take that management on. Part of that is also you get stop-loss insurance, which says that you set a threshold, which is usually $75,000 to $100,000. You pay an insurance policy, say $500,000, for a stop-loss, which means that anyone that hits the $100,000 mark is no longer our financial responsibility. So you have a couple of people have some significant things and they jack right up past 100,000. No problem. We're paying for stop-loss insurance to cover that. The challenge is if you have multiple people that approach that number but never hit that number. So you budget for a number that is less than you would pay for your traditional insurance, full pay insurance, but you gamble that you're not going to have a lot of claims. If you don't have a lot of claims and you come in under that number, then you have a surplus for that year, which then you put into an account, a health account, for that year when you do have a bad year. Because inevitably you have a bad year. So at Woodstock Academy we did this, and out of the 5 years we were there, we had 4 great years. But in all honesty, we had 1 bad year. And it was a bad year. And those are big numbers. That being said, if the board were to elect to go to self-insured, I've experienced in that. I won't say I'm comfortable with that, but I've experienced in that. It's more work for us. It's more stress for us. It's a weekly billing that they pull out of your account, and that bill could be anywhere from $5,000 to $120,000 each week. So it's stressful, but desperate times, desperate measures. It would be a potential savings of guesstimate $75,000 to $100,000. I would be comfortable saying $100,000 for that. But I want to make sure that everyone understands going into this that it's a gamble.
So if we end up in the negative and owe more claims,
We have
it's
to pay
our
for it.
responsibility to pay for it, and we have no other tuition or anything coming in.
Correct. What we have is, and you've heard this in the public, we have about $2.3 million in our capital account. 1.8 and change is the employee tax credit that we received from the government, that the board, when we received that money, the board voted to have that earmarked for capital projects. And that money is earmarked for things like when the bus loop gets fixed, the chance of us getting the state paying 100% of that is pretty slim. Will they cover 75% of it? There's a good chance that that's going to happen. But if that's $5 million or $6 million, we have to come up with the other amount of money. So that money would go towards that, which means that it's not a cost to us, which then gets calculated into our per pupil expenditure and then gets passed on to the town. So that 1.8 would go to capital projects. That leaves us with about 550,000 or so-ish in that account. We are taking 250 out of that account to apply to this next year's budget, which leaves us with about 300,000-ish in that account. So if the health insurance goes higher than expected, that's where we would dip into to cover that cost. So that's my first recommendation. The other recommendation that I would make is, again, desperate times, desperate measures. We put in 2 instructional aides to help combat the academic issue that SBAC scores and the math scores. Those positions, we would probably say with insurance and benefits, if we shoot high on that, I would say 100,000 each, which brings us to 300,000. You know, with the aides, we talk about action, reaction. The consequence of that is, okay, now we don't have support for that. Which means that it falls on me to figure out how are we going to address our academics. So, with that said, we have one of our assistant principal positions that Mr. Crossman is resigning at the end of the year. I'm in conversations with my administrative team to maybe look at making that more of a curriculum position. The challenge is I'm not sure what the consequence as far as the lack of discipline support that we would lose. So in this whole thing, if we reduce the 2 aides, we have to figure out how to address the academics, which again, that was our plan to improve our scores for next year, which when we get to the scores next year, which reflect back to this meeting when we say we are reducing our support for academics. They're the only 2 aides that we have. However, going back to the $1 million reduction that the Winchester Board of Education received, desperate times, desperate measures. So I would be comfortable with offering up the $300,000 in those realms.
So, for discussion's sake, I will make a motion to follow Mr. Soucy's recommendation of cutting 300,000, and then we can go into discussion if anyone wants to second it.
I'll second.
Teresa, thank you. All right, any discussion?
Can I ask a question? The Winchester budget was, what we approved was $26,050,000, right? The million that came off last night, that's plus the $500,000 the school board?
Yeah, you should be,
This is
Frank, you gotta talk
Oh,
to
I'm
our
sorry.
board, yeah.
All right, the school board took off $500,000, $500,000. That was what the Winchester School Board approved, which brought down the school budget and went to $26,050,000.
Clerk can confirm that.
Last night you said $1 million got cut from the budget. Is that, so that's $1.5 million from the school budget or the town budget?
The school budget.
School budget.
Yeah, the selectmen voted to take another $1 million off the Board of Ed. Correct.
And what did that bring the mill rate down?
We haven't calculated the mill rate to the council budget.
Well,
You're asking what's the bring
Well,
the education
they
budget
mentioned,
down.
I know they mentioned the mill rate. I think it was 30.6.
I don't know if that has, but I mean, the total, if you're looking at percentage, the whole total increase to the town budget would be 3.3%.
honestly, my feeling is it's not even gonna matter. Because the budget, the whole budget for the town is just too much. It's not the school budget, it's not the Winchester, it's not your budget, it's the entire package is above what I believe the town can afford.
So what we do here tonight won't matter?
It'll matter, but not in the extent of solving the problem for voters.
So I think, Frank, to that point, and I'm sorry to jump right in with a comment. I think to that point, as Board of Ed members, school court members, selectmen, we need, actually not selectmen, let me scratch that. As Board of Ed members and school court members, we need to be mindful of the taxpayer, but our responsibility is to the students. So it very much does matter. I feel so strongly opposed to what you just said that I just really want it to be known. We should be mindful of taxpayers, but we are responsible for these children.
Why I said that, because there is something that can be done if we all put our heads together, and that's one formal school district. I don't know what that'll save over the end, but, you know, eliminating overhead, running a lean, administrative, one district, one school district, high
But
school.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but tonight we have to solve for this budget issue.
Okay. All right.
Anyone else?
And yeah, tonight is just about tonight and how we can help the town and help the board.
Okay.
There's a motion. We have to discuss the motion on the table.
Anyone else?
I'll tell you why I have concerns, because this is a lean budget. We've been through our whole budget process. We passed the budget, passed it on February 11th. I struggle with the fact that we don't get to share in the revenue of the town support for education. That's $697,000, but we're being asked to share it. So I don't like that line item on the town side, which is an extra grant to elementary school, but Gilbert doesn't get any of that. So that to me is very unfair. I struggle with the meeting we had at March 24th, where both superintendents presented their budget. Only 4 of 7 selectmen were there. Paul Marino was not there. Cheryl Heffernan McGlynn was not there, but they call out Gilbert for not showing up to their meeting Monday night with very little notice, and they weren't even at the budget when the 2 superintendents were making their presentations. I struggle with the Winchester's budget, actually saying they use a status quo approach to the budget and misrepresenting Gilbert's actual cost. $11,200,000 is not Gilbert's budget. It's $9,670,000. That was done, I think, to create a divide. It's not collaboratively working, it's creating a divide. We're supposed to be partners here. I struggle with the fact that Winchester is looking at alternatives to high schools, that they're threatening to pull back the 7th grade. Years ago, 10 years ago, they were going to send kids to, actually 8 years ago when Chris Leone was the superintendent of Torrington, they were going to send kids to Torrington. Then they were going to send them to Litchfield, and actually went out of their way to write letters to all the 8th grade parents telling them to go anywhere but Gilbert. How is that a partner? So, but despite that, I trust our superintendent. I trust him. He knows his job, he knows his numbers. He's a good numbers guy. If he can live with $300,000, I don't like it, I don't think it's fair. I think we're just using kids as pawns when you threaten to break up the 7th and 8th grade for budget purposes. We've had many budget meetings. This is the first time we have public. The very first time. And it's the same thing every year. I'm tired of hearing that Gilbert doesn't participate. We've shared in every year. I've been on the Gilbert Trust for 30 years, 35 years, maybe too long. We share all the time. It's the partnership's got to work both ways. So I don't like the cut. I think it hurts the kids. I think we have 4 administrators at the school, 1 who's leaving. Elementary school we have 9. All right, 600 kids. We have 77.5 employees roughly. Elementary school we have 153. There's problems with those things. Those should be looked at. The personnel line item for the elementary school is more than our entire middle school and high school budget combined. That's including sports and everything. That's where things need to be looked at. So, that being said, I'll support the $300,000, but I'm not gonna support anything more than that. Because I think it is a cost-sharing effort, because if we get half of the town for support for education, that's $700,000 almost. It's not fair. It's not fair to say, Gilbert, you have to take the cut, but you can't share in the revenue. What kind of partner is that?
This side?
Why is that? Why is that?
I don't know, that's a Winchester question, it's been going on for years. That line item was created years ago because of when Ann Watson was the superintendent of schools, they overspent the budget. It was prior to the receiver, they went into the receivership. The town side has no choice but to pick up the deficits when the Board of Education fails. And the Board of Education is a sovereign board from the Board of Selectmen. And now it's being spun differently. It's basically, we have the MBR, which is the minimum budget requirement. That is what the taxpayer votes on, that you can't go below unless there's very unusual circumstances. There are ways to go below, but it's unusual. So that's your minimum budget requirement. The selectmen now have this other line item called town support, which is essentially a grant. It's over and above the MBR. They don't share it with Winchester. The Winchester board chooses not to share that. That's a Winchester board issue. So their MBR plus the town support is what they're spending. And then they get the ECS money, which is education cost sharing money. That's a formula. That goes off the town overall budget. But the $697, we get nothing of that. But we always have to share the cuts. So they say now that that's to control the MBR. It doesn't control the MBR. That's being spun as a political move because the voter controls the MBR. The voter decides what they want to spend on education. All these shell games we've been doing with the town, if you remember 2 years ago, when Candy Perez cut that line item by $200,000 but didn't tell Melanie, and the Board of Ed didn't know about it until after the budget was passed because Melanie presented the budget as normal, you could just Google that video, it's all over Facebook. Questions were directly asked, is this a cut? She called it a line item transfer. Moved it from town support to capital. Steve Sedlak asked her, is that a cut? No. Does the superintendent know about it? Yes. All of that proved to be false. What kind of partner is that? So we're doing the same argument every year. But the only reason I'm supporting this, because I would vote against it, I usually do, is because our superintendent supports it. Let him do his job. He'll do his job.
I know I have something to say, but I want to finish this side of the table first, sorry.
I struggle with the fact that we knew, and it was made public to us by Mike. Exact words to us from Mike was, we're starting our budget, and I think it was we thought it was $1.6 million. That's what health insurance costs were going to be going in. We knew we were going to be $1.6 million in the hole.
That was combined.
Correct, combined,
WPS
but our
and
exactly, and our school budget was going to be $1.6 million. So now it comes in at 1.3, but it's funny now $1 million got cut from us. So basically, how do you support our kids when we're not even supporting costs that we have no control over? Our fixed costs are still more than, and now we got to cut $1 million. We're already $1 million behind. Now we got to cut another $1 million.
But Scott,
We're talking about overall, right?
I'm talking
We're
about the whole budget.
You're preaching to the choir, brother.
I'm just saying. Can I just finish? So we're just taking this and we're passing it to the kids. I, as a taxpayer, I can understand that their health insurance. I see it every day. I see it in my check. I see it in our take home. Why? My question is, why did this not? And this probably isn't this proper conversation. But why didn't this go to the taxpayers? Why didn't they get an opportunity to vote?
Selectmen chose not to do that.
Well,
so Scott, what happens, how do you react to something like that? When you have unanticipated expenses without the revenue to offset it, what you do is you do a zero-based budget. That's what you do. And that's what we do here, is you start and you rebuild every single program, every single department from zero. You do not do a status quo budget. A status quo just says, we're here last year, and we're just going to build up, but it's incremental. Exactly. That's what that is. And that's the problem I have with the Winchester budget. Because that was Superintendent Ruby's words. We started here, and you don't look at what the problems are in these other programs. You may have some, if you're not looking backwards, How do you defend your budget? You have to like look at each individual column, each little line
I
item,
totally
and
agree.
rebuild the program. That's hard work. That takes time. It's not the easy way out. So zero-based budgeting is what most people in education do. Status quo budgeting is not what they usually do. So that's the problem I struggle with, is because it just to me was a quick and easy way, and then immediately at that meeting, it was blame Gilbert. You know, that meeting, if you were there, this is another thing, I have a problem with the Board of Selectmen. There's no record of that meeting. There are no minutes of that meeting.
Which one?
Look on
Where
the
it
Board of
was
Selectmen
presented-
special meeting on March 24th.
Where it was
The o-
presented to the Board of
The two
Selectmen.
boards presented that. You cannot find, and you can find the agenda.
It's recorded, there's a recording.
Wait, I was gonna get to
Yeah.
that, but it's recorded by a selectman from a cell phone, it's
Yeah,
not
it's
on the
not
Board of
great.
Selectmen. You
Right.
can't find it on the Board of Selectmen, it's a Board of Selectmen meeting. You have to go to the education and look up somebody's uploaded iPhone video
Yeah, you can't
to
hear
find
it,
it.
but, yeah.
There are no minutes. I mean, that's the problem. At that particular meeting, the Board of Selectmen had 4 of 7 people there, and you had people turning their back on the audience, addressing Gilbert, calling out Gilbert. Kevin Bishop, who actually called out Gilbert as a selectman and said, I hope Gilbert can make some cuts. He hadn't even seen Gilbert's budget yet. It was the first time he'd seen it. Mr. Susi gave out handouts. Winchester had no handouts. You know, I sat at that meeting. You wouldn't know what happened at that meeting unless you were physically there. People turned their back on the selectmen, and they were talking to individuals in the audience and creating something you'd see on a comedy show. There was absolutely no rules of parliamentary procedure. Until somebody in the back of the room said something, and then finally the mayor said, no talking from the back, and then they adjourned the meeting just abruptly. But they have no record of it, no minutes.
There were 5 selectmen and 2 absent.
Well, Cheryl
One
was not there.
One was sitting in the audience.
Why?
Okay, it's not what we're here
Okay,
to
well,
discuss.
no, but that's okay.
I'm just
That's
saying,
okay.
there's 5.
That's
Does
my
anybody else on
opinion.
this side want to make a comment before we go back to Grouchy?
Listen, I have so many feelings. I feel like I've done nothing but like think about this. I feel like I've been emotional about it. I would support a cut in part just to be like a good partner.
That's the only reason.
I mean, I heard, and I don't want to continue, like, you know, I know that, but it is part of the discussion, really. I mean, I heard us not be called a good partner by several people, and get called out, pointed at. I wrote down all the quotes. I have like a whole list of like things that I heard, and it made me so sad, and it continues to make me so sad. But I would support it simply to be a good partner, really. And
Take the high road.
yeah, and I mean, obviously, like, we can't, you know, take the hit, and the Winchester schools can't take the hit. I think that the overall $1 million cut was just a number. I don't think it was thoughtful. I don't think that if you were to even ask why there was $1 million cut, how anyone would even know that would impact anybody. Like, what impact would it make to, like, the average taxpayer? I don't think if you did like a random poll on that Board of Selectmen, I don't think most people would know. I think most people show up, not most. I think there's a couple of people who show up to that meeting unprepared. I don't think they know what's going on. I don't think they ask any questions. I'm so incredibly frustrated by it, and at the end of the day, you know, the schools suffer, and that like really bothers me. So I don't know. Like 300,000. I would be willing to have discussion about it. I think that overall it is going to show when there's complaints about test scores, which is ultimately it's going to happen because that's what happens. And I think it's going to show. I think it's going to be really difficult to demonstrate impact if you don't have the resources in place to create the impact. So, I mean, I just feel like I could go on and on. Sorry.
So, Jonathan, did you want to speak at all? You're good. Shane?
I think from this particular, from my standpoint, I think one of the unfortunate things, I mean, it's been mentioned quite a few times. I've been, served on the Winchester board for almost, this is my 3rd year. This is my 2nd stint on the Gilbert board. And what is disappointing is why I wanted to rejoin the board here was because I saw and I appreciate the vision that Mr. Susi has as the head of schools, and I really appreciate that. The unfortunate situation that our town is in, and again, we can point fingers, we can blame. The most unfortunate part of all of this is it feels like there's two sides that are pitted against each other. And I have not gotten the impression that it is, without mentioning names, it feels like it's one-sided in that, unfortunately. So that's probably what I'm most disappointed in. I appreciate the presentation of the proposed cut. It's not easy to make cuts. If I was in either position, either Dr. Louis or Mr. Susi's, it's hard because thinking of it from a parental standpoint, I'll pay more taxes if it means a better education for my children. Money doesn't solve and doesn't mean necessarily a better education, but defunding education also doesn't do that. So unfortunately, the thing that I would love to see and why I even got involved on either one of these boards is less finger pointing and more collaboration that leads to ultimately a better, more efficiently run K through 12. That's so that doesn't get us to the dollars and cents of where we need to get to right now, but that's what I hope we can work towards, and I think that takes equal partnership on both sides. Again, not to be overstated, understated, but I think that's where this all begins, because dollars and cents, it's a hot mess right now, and that's the reality of it. A $1.5 million cut, any cut is tough, but from proposed budgets is tough to take, and it makes me dissatisfied at this point as someone who's part of this town. I was raised in this town and decided to come back to it to raise my family. So I want what's best for the town. I want what's best for the future, and I hope we can work better. That's really all I hope. Really. And I know there's due diligence there's efforts that are being made to do so, but not necessarily that. So that's the unfortunate part. That's all I have to say. So I would be in favor of, and I appreciate the presentation for
Good. Yep.
I'm gonna go along with it with my suggestion of 300,000, but I do want to make mention of, I'm very fearful of the self-insured part.
Yeah, it should be.
They're out there on it.
I don't know if Winchester's looked at that, but they should.
And what's gonna happen to us if we do have a bad year? That would be catastrophic.
It'll show up next year.
That's what the stop loss is for, working in insurance.
Yeah.
So we're limited in the risk,
We're
but we're still
insuring,
on.
we're reinsuring the insurance.
You're
We're
hedging a
still
bit.
on
You're
for the
insured, but you're
risk.
still $200,000 a person, right?
Yeah, if you have a lot of claims and you
that's
don't
the
hit
killer.
it, and
You
you
get
don't hit
5
that,
claims
you're
at
in trouble.
$90,000 a piece, that's $450,000.
Yeah, no. Absolutely.
So I want to echo what Shane said, because one thing we have to realize is this isn't over tonight. We still have to get it through the town. So there's been rhetoric out there that says that the town doesn't support education, which is not necessarily true. Last year, the education budget had a significant increase on the elementary ed side, not the Gilbert side, and it got through. The meeting on the 24th, when they were all talking about the cuts, and it was just kind of a crazy meeting there, they passed the roof of Pearson School the same day at a referendum. So this town has supported education. So it's going to be important if we work together on this, that it works both sides. It's got to be stopped, because really it's been, I have a hard time with the entire meeting down there blaming Gilbert and just looking for cuts right away. Immediately, right out of the gate, it was all Gilbert. That's got to stop. That doesn't come from Gilbert's side, that came from Winchester's side. So if this thing goes through tonight, then both boards, both districts, people got to get out and vote and support the entire budget from K through 12. That's all we have to do, is support the entire budget. We shouldn't be he or she, it shouldn't be like that.
So I would just like to add a few of my thoughts. I understand the difficult position Julie is in with her staff. I would just like to also recognize that Mr. Susi was put in that position when 7th grade was mentioned on the fly at a meeting, and he had to come in the next day. So I think we all need to be aware, all the boards, that our actions have repercussions, and he had to deal with talking to employees the next day after that. You know, there's a selectman that spoke that only mentioned in his selectmen's meeting of 600 kids, K through 6, 600 kids, K through 6. I'm going to echo words of Mr. Shagru that they're all our kids, K through 12. They're all our kids. And Gilbert has always been made out to be the bad guy. We've come to the table. Mr. Susi, I'd like to thank for bringing us forward with some potential cuts so that he did a lot of the work for us to get us on this path that I'm happy we are discussing and considering cuts. We all want what's best for our kids. These kids come up and they're here as well. So I just hope that we all can consider and see what we can do.
We're gonna have 6th graders that come up here that are used to getting academic supports, and they're gonna hit 7th grade and not have it. That's what's gonna happen.
Anyone else?
Yes, please.
It's going as a portion of the chair.
Well, listen, come on. I didn't have the opportunity to kind of, to add more context to this slide that was shown last week and then at the budget meeting the other night, the historical appropriations and the huge gap between increases between Winchester and Gilbert. For those that want to go back and look at the slides or whatever, in 2012, and it was briefly mentioned by some selectmen that this was the year, but I think it really didn't, the point didn't really land. That in 2012 was the year that 7th and 8th grade left WPS and came up to Gilbert. So that 14.9% negative increase for WPS and the 15.2% increase to Gilbert. That has something to do with the huge percentage increase to Gilbert's budget that year. I wouldn't say something, but I think it has a huge majority to that. Also, the year before, if I'm correct, in 2011, Gilbert was owed about $288,000 of tuition from WPS that they were asked to waive, and Gilbert did vote to waive those payments. So it might not come up as a cut, but I view that as a cut. So those are just two very important details that if you're just looking at numbers, doesn't really give you the context of those numbers. So we have to understand what we're looking at and how we are presenting it, especially to the public who is uninformed. So we have to be very careful. Numbers are numbers. We had people at the selectmen meeting the other night comparing us to New Hartford. I did my own research, and if you look at the percentage of high needs kids compared to Region 7, there's about a 30% gap. That didn't come out in the numbers because that didn't fit their agenda, but numbers are only numbers until there's context to the numbers. So we have to be very careful about how we present things to the public without proper context. So that's what I'd like to say. I've made my viewpoints very clear that this year was the perfect storm for a budget. From the very beginning in November, in our meetings, I made it clear that we were starting at $1 million deficit because of insurance. I was trying to get it out there to the public so they could understand it as soon as possible to understand what we were looking at. Add into the fact that a lot of the grants that were masking the deficit of the 10 years that we decided as a town not to increase the budget, masking how understaffed that we were, both at WPS and Gilbert. All that is gone now. So it truly was a perfect storm. Also, it's not just us. Every day you look at the news, it's ECS this, towns are fighting this, towns are having to close schools. It's not just us. It is the state, it's a state problem. The Board of Selectmen made a very good, clear argument to that. The state is not funding education properly, and whatever they decide on top of what they're already giving us is not enough. Not enough for all the unfunded mandates that they put forth. So it truly was the perfect storm. We were in a no-win situation starting off. The one thing I might regret on the Board of Ed side is that we chose to cut $500,000 before we presented it to the Board of Selectmen, because while I think they still would have asked for, instead of $1 million cut, they'd asked for $1.5 million, because there's a number that they were trying to get to, and whatever our number was is how they were going to get there. I've learned my lesson. So next year, it should, as Teresa pointed out, our job is to think of the taxpayer, but our number one job is the students. And that should be our only concern. I appreciate you presenting this to us. I appreciate you allowing me to reach out to you while you're on vacation. Listen, I will accept any cut that you're willing to present to us, so I appreciate that.
Teresa? So, I think everybody is kind of like saying the same thing. We are all here, we are mostly all here for what's best for kids. I think if that's not why you're here, then you should evaluate that, whether it be Board of Ed, school corp, you really should. There's really echoing what Holly was saying, like the words really do matter, because, you know, and Tara said it too, we are like in the trenches out there being looked at like villains. And it's such an interesting game that gets played where the selectmen cut $1 million from the budget and BOE and school corp start fighting with each other. That doesn't make any sense to me. And that's a dead horse. So what I want to ask Mike is, I'm comfortable with the $300,000, but I'm not comfortable with losing the interventionist. So I want to know if there's another way to get there.
It's a good question.
And an asterisk question, which you probably can't answer, is there's all this conversation in the news, $170 million, the state, ECS funding, they're going to fix the problem. I also really have questions about if the ECS funding does get fixed and Winchester Public Schools gets additional funding, as they should, does any of that funding make us whole after we take a cut? No, and I think that's important to know, because we could take a big hit right now, by some miracle, the state can come through, and we are in a hole that nobody is under any obligation to restore. So I would really like to know how you could get to $300,000 without sacrificing academic support. And I think you know some of my opinions on that, but I just want to know if you can get there.
I don't know. There's a lot of factors, you know, as you get towards the end of the year. If there's a retirement where somebody retires and you hire somebody at a lower, there's some breakage there, and you can use some of those funds. All things that we have no knowledge about. So to answer your question, on the surface, that's what I have. Now, I'm also responsible for the academics, so it's my job to try and figure this out. On the spot right here, it's the 2 aides. As we finish out this year and over the summer, as staffing fluctuates, I don't know if there's a different plan at that time, but we're under a time crunch now. They just got the cut. We're discussing it now. That's the most realistic option that I have at this junction.
Is it possible to get any more grant money like what we got for the
Now, the Focus School grant that we received was about $114,000, and that's spread over 2 years. And the lion's share of that goes to our math interventionist.
Could
So
we
that's the other
appeal to
thing
the
too.
state for more?
No, we asked for 300, and they gave us 114. Now, maybe we can reapply for something, I don't know what that looks like. But the other part too is that math interventionist runs out next year.
So on that whole.
Next year, we have to figure out what that's going to look like.
I just think it needs to be said again, and I'll reference this handout that Nora had, student performance and return on investment. I very much understand that cutting ultimately $1.5 million from Winchester Public Schools will devastate their academics. I very much support us participating in that, because when you devastate the academics in a K-6 program, you cannot expect to get 7th graders who are prepared for the rigors. But I'm deeply uncomfortable with it's gonna be terrible, so let's make it terrible for everybody.
And we'll still get beat up for our test
And we'll
scores.
still get beat up for our test scores. We'll take a big cut, we will remain a focus school, and I think that is I'm fearing that's an inevitability, because when you just continue, we're not even talking about cutting academic resources, we've never had them.
So for next year, we are switching our schedule, which I don't know what the impact of that's going to be. We are assuming that the fact that we will have mathematics and English every day for our students, whereas currently with the block schedule, it's every other day, which usually works well for high school students, not a good scenario for middle school students. So we are going to an 8-period day, which is completely upending how we're going to be approaching things. So
I think
hopefully through that we can get at the schools better.
I'm absolutely with Teresa. We need the supports here, that we don't have them. But if Mr. Susi is uncomfortably comfortable that with the open AP position, he may be able to switch it to curriculum, I think we have to let him be creative. Because $1 million is a huge hit.
It's a lot of money.
Well, percentage-wise, it's big, because we only have a $9.7 million budget, and we're taking $300 off of that.
The problem is, we don't have that money in capital, because we already have $250 in our budget. Tara, thank you.
I just want to, I feel like I didn't really share, and I just had an outburst, so I want to just apologize.
Nice team.
What's that?
No,
Oh,
don't
oh,
ignore
no. I am curious, I know you had mentioned the associate principal trying to be creative and replace that with a curriculum instructor. I would love to understand before you kind of making a decision. I know that's not necessarily like a decision that has to be made tonight. It's like it's a possibility. I do just want to say a couple of things that I think are important. And Kurt, I do appreciate the fact the $500,000 was offered by the Board of Education. I don't mean to go backwards in the conversation, but at the end of the day, I don't think it really mattered. I think it just got gobbled up. Overall, I'm hoping that, I'm not like Pollyanna, I don't think, but I do really want to be positive. And like at the end of budget season, I'm just even hoping that we can kind of move forward together, that just Gilbert and WPS can move forward together. I think if there's any kind of tension, it is fostered by by a couple of the boards, by the Board of Selectmen as well, because I think, at the end of the day, I think it makes the Board of Selectmen's job a heck of a lot easier when it appears as though, like, the two entities just can't come to the table. And I think that there have been glimmers of, like, being able to come to the table. There's a lot of history there. And then even just for, I'm with Shane, I happily would pay for this, but I know that, you know, perhaps people think that that's not possible, that the majority of the town won't want to pay for an increase. I think we should really let them decide, but I would like to point out that I went back and I've been doing math too, like this, but historical appropriations, I poured over it, but I've looked at like the past 2 decades, and the education budget in town has grown proportionate to like the rest of the town's budget. It hasn't, it's not a, it's not growing at like a faster rate. It's not, you know, and it's not any different than any other town, and I would say it's actually like at the lower end compared to most towns when you look at the proportion of education that is dedicated to the overall town budget. So, yeah, that's where I stand. But I would love to understand, I don't know, maybe now isn't the time, but like the curriculum instructor, how that will
I think it would be a curriculum
different.
or coordinator position, not just.
Oh, I wrote instructor, oh, I thought I heard.
It's kind of
title it whatever
open.
you want.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And just so I'm clear,
Yeah.
so the options that I put on the table was insurance and the 2 aides.
Mhm.
And the number is $300,000. We're talking about a $300,000 reduction.
Mhm.
The aides aren't $100,000 each.
Right.
That's worst case scenario, family plan, high insurance. Like, I'm coming up with a number, and I'm telling you the buckets that I would use to get there.
So they're not all.
Like insurance, I'm saying 100,000, we'll save 100,000 insurance. Could be more, could be less.
That's his
That's
best
just
estimate.
That's based on his experience.
Right.
doing that.
But
Yes.
there's so much
And that's what he's
fluctuation in it.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes, so to boil this all down, I'm presenting a $300,000 reduction.
Yep.
That's the
Got it.
number that people should be thinking of. It's my job to figure out
Where
Right.
these
where
other
how you
pieces,
do it.
how to address the academics. So that's really the summary of my recommendation.
So is there any more
I'm surprised Diane finally convinced you towards the self-insurance, because I know that.
Yeah, Diane.
I know that's what she wants. I know that's what she
Why she
wants.
retired?
That's why she's retiring. She's gonna stand.
First of all,
She doesn't have to work.
I haven't looked at her, one, because, and we haven't talked today. I was at the Capitol today, and we didn't see each other, so.
This is
So this was
confirming
new to
your
her. Oh,
retirement,
good.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm running out of here before she gets up from her chair.
Diane, it's confirming your retirement, right? Validating that you're still
I think
retired.
I think it precipitated her.
Scott?
It's a new experience.
Just one more thing.
Can I
I'd like to- go
I
ahead.
just want to make sure that everybody understands, a $300,000 reduction does not mean a $300,000 reduction to Winchester's tuition.
Correct, it's a 300,000 to our budget,
Yes.
but there's also 20 students that we have tuition coming in from the trust side.
Yes.
So it will be slightly
Just
less.
So it's understood.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
Just, so our total give to the town in reality, because we put up 250,000 going in, right? So our total give back to the town is $550,000.
Minus the international.
But yeah, it's good.
No, I'm just saying, our gift,
No, he's right.
No, I'm
We're taking
right.
$250 out of the capital.
capital expense,
Yeah, right.
Out
And
of our
then-
total
The
budget.
300,
So, oh, I see
Off
what
the
you're
top.
saying.
Like
Yeah.
95% of $550,000.
yes.
Anyone else before we move this motion forward? Did you have, Mike?
I don't know if it's worth the risk. That's the issue.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we find out at the end of the year. if we have to
At the end of
come
the
up with some
fiscal
money.
year, we'll find out we're doing line item adjustments.
If it
But it's
doesn't
a
work,
food,
I'm
we don't
blaming
know.
Diane.
You're talking about the self-insurance
you
or
are.
about the?
I think both are.
None of us know.
Frank, the sad
Both are
part about
risks.
that is, I agree with you, but if we don't at least try it, it all goes to Winsted.
So I think the safety net too
Goes to
is,
Winsted Public School.
Mike keeps reminding me, if the self-insured doesn't work this year, we can then go on a state plan, which was the plan for this year. So, and that, we don't have to apply to get, like, we can just move in if we're considered bad risk still. You will.
I don't think we're going off that.
What happens if May 26th we're back here?
We have another discussion. I don't know.
Hard to
We
predict.
can't predict the future.
I'll say this, that if we've already been asked to cut $1 million and we have to come back to this, if we're being asked to cut more by the selectmen, that's crazy.
Okay.
What happened? You gotta have a unified front.
Well, that's
to the
why,
voter.
that's why
That's
I
what we
think
gotta
we should
have.
start
You gotta
putting
have a
together.
unified front to the
Right.
voters that everybody supports this budget.
Except it's really hard to support because it is decimating our education system.
I get it,
All right,
I
we're
get it,
moving
but it's
the
better
vote.
than failing it.
Oh yeah, because it's
That's
gonna be
the other
worse, because it's
option.
gonna be worse.
We have a motion and a second, and we've discussed.
Perfectly
We're
designed.
moving the question.
I'm moving the question. All in favor?
Of a $300,000.
Hold on, keep your hand up if you're in favor, please,
Make sure
so
Lauren
that
has the
Lauren
motion.
can look. I'm gonna,
Make sure she has the right.
Favor of
motion.
Mike's recommendation.
yes, the 300,000. That would be unanimous. Thank you very
Reduction to the
much.
budget. It's a reduction to the budget.
Okay, moving on. Committee reports.
Finance, we met before, very brief meeting. We are still waiting to hear from Eversource on the $88,000 in credit is one of the issues that our superintendent's gonna chase him, I suppose, in his spare time. There was really not much else other than the monthly report that was presented. That's it, really. I mean, there was nothing unusual that's going on, very brief meeting, and if anybody wants to look at the monthly report, it's in our packet.
Okay. Next up is policy, Ellen.
Policy, I didn't bring my minutes from the last meeting, but they're very detailed anyways, but everybody can read those. We have a lot of policy tonight. Later on, we have like 3 first reads, and we have several action items. I think, I didn't go out by letters, so.
Are we almost done with those?
It never ends. Policy never ends. But I like policy. I mean, that's.
That's the lawyer in you.
That's, I just.
She loves it.
It's
Just
like
see her at the
lawyer.
Every
meetings.
time you fix something, you see another problem. It's just the nature of it, but it's fluid, it's good. So we, you know, the policy meeting meets every first Thursday at 8 o'clock in the morning with Mr. Susi and the policy committee at the Gilbert School. And it's a good one if you can get there, because there really is a very, I'd say it's meaty because there's always a lot going on. We're going to be dealing next month with ICE and wellness and these other things. I mean,
It's no
there's-
longer winter, we shouldn't be doing
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's the ice I'm talking about. But anyway, so I think we'll, there's nothing else to really put in the
Yeah, we
policy
have them
because
on
we
here.
have everything else on
Yep.
that, item 14.
Sounds good. Scott, building and grounds.
Yes, we met this evening at 6 o'clock and we have put an agenda.
Thank
We
you.
are
I appreciate everything
still
that you've
getting
given.
quoted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're still getting quoting on a small gym. We're coming in at, if we go with the low bid right now, we eliminate the hoist, we can basically do the project now with the monies that we have from fundraising. Who does fundraising, right? The donation.
Oh, the donation?
Donation,
Yeah.
Yep. The bus loop project, Mike was excited today, that he went to the Capitol today and they met with our state rep and a lobbyist and went over and he's very excited about how we're proceeding ahead. Here's that it's on the docket.
Yeah, and if I can just add
Sure.
to that, I'd like to, again, publicly thank Senator Harding and Representative Jay Case. They were instrumental in helping us move this forward. We met today up at Senator Harding's office. As you know, it's a crazy time at the Capitol right now, but he was kind enough to carve out some time to talk to us about the project. He is a supporter of it, and Mr. Case is going to help take the next step to try and move it forward and get it in this year's budget. And just to be clear as far as what that looks like, we talked about this fund that we have that has come up time and time again of the $2.3 million. 1.8 and change of that is from the ERTC money that came from the government that this board earmarked for capital projects. If we get that bus loop done, we're going to have to use that money to help contribute to the cost sharing. Ideally, If the state would pick up the whole thing, saying it's a safety issue, and they pick up the whole thing, that'd be great. However, I think that's a slim chance. It's more like it would be a cost sharing, 70–80% the state would pick up, and we would pick up the rest. But that money is earmarked for things like that, so none of this would come back on the town. That's the goal of it. So, great movement today. Very, very appreciative of Jay Case for supporting that, because that's going to help keep the expenses off of the town.
Can I ask a question, just because I know we're limited in time for building grounds? You said it was a good conversation, you felt like it felt kind of promising.
Yes.
Is there, it's impossible to say, I mean, was there any indication on like what next steps are? Or like, I know you gave a timeline even when it looked like if it was to happen. Is there like a percentage you can assign of like a possibility of like this happening? I know Jay's like really positive, and he has a positive attitude about things, which is great. I'm just, is it?
He is positive, yes. He's a great cheerleader on things.
Yes.
But in that meeting, Senator Harding was the one that was saying it's a priority for him.
Okay.
So between the two of them,
I mean that as a compliment, by the way.
Yes.
Like, okay, yeah.
100%.
Like,
they are moving it forward. And we have our Kevin Hill, who is our lobbyist, has been instrumental in getting it in front of these people and then helping provide the information and data for them to understand the project and then to move it to the next step in that process. I've never been through this process before. Mr. Sanford, who used to be a lobbyist, believe it or not, in his other life, and Mr. Hill, who's our lobbyist currently, has shared that this is pretty far along in the process.
okay,
So that's why we are very optimistic about it.
thank you.
It's a major issue with that bus route, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's something that's been, we
It's a
kicked that
safety
can down the road
issue.
so many.
It's crazy that they wouldn't consider it a safety.
Yeah.
What's the timing from their perspective?
So if it does get into the budget this year, we have to fill out an application. I've heard 2 different dates, June or October, sometime within then. And then it goes to funding, and then we can hopefully break ground next summer.
Is that reimbursement or is that?
I don't know.
It depends what they
I don't
award
know.
us.
I don't know how they.
No, I know. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right now, the way I don't know. This is all
You're not
new
gonna
to
guarantee
me.
anything?
This is all new to me.
Okay.
We have the right players working hard for us to get us as much support as possible.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure that everyone knows that very, very appreciative for Senator Harding and Representative Case.
Thank you.
And that's about it for tonight.
Well, it's good that you keep pressure on them. I mean, that's what you have to do, is you keep your honest every single time, and showing up in person in Hartford is a big deal.
That and our lobbyist, Kevin, was great.
Next committee personnel, that would be me. There is no meeting to update, but we absolutely need to meet. We didn't after the last one, it's been busy with budget, but Shane, Teresa, Kurt, if we can stay and set a date to meet for personnel after this meeting. Sorry, Kurt.
Kurt was just saying that he felt like he hadn't gone to enough meetings lately.
Yeah, well, add that one. Nominating, there's no update, and that brings us to ad hoc negotiating, there's no update, so resignations and appointments.
Yes, really no appointments, all resignations. So Linda Bishop, who was our part-time receptionist, resigned. Don Crossman has submitted his resignation. He will be missed dearly. He's a fantastic associate principal and just a wonderful person. He will be missed. And then Kat Gillette, who is our school nurse. She will be leaving as of this Friday.
How many nurses do we have?
2.
So she's leaving, so she's gonna probably have to be replaced, right?
Yes.
And we have 2 for 400 kids.
Is,
And I know they.
well,
Teresa's gonna advocate here.
I am gonna advocate here because I did spend, we always talk about the math. I search high and low to every school I can find. 2 nurses for 400 kids is uncommon.
Is that good or bad?
It's one more than most schools have. You usually don't see the second one until you get to about 600 kids. I know that we've worked really hard to make our guidance and social emotional really beef that up, which I know drives a lot of kids to a school nurse. Through my 13+ years at Winchester Public Schools, this is not a criticism of them directly, but it's the beginning of like a culture that's created where you just go to the nurse. So I believe that they see tons of kids every day. I think a fraction of those kids require medical attention. When I said to Mike before, I'd love to salvage an interventionist and see what it looks like with even 1.5 nurses. And it's a culture of, it's even like reflective of behavior sometimes. Like when kids are having really behaviors in the classroom, they go to the nurse, and I'm not accusing anybody, it starts like when they're little.
I think that's what kids need medication, so that could get.
Absolutely, but there's like a nurse, I mean, I think 2 is a lot, and 2 is uncommon in the entire northwest corner for 400 kids.
I think the amount of referrals to the nurse seems excessive, and I think it is a culture thing.
Like I 100% believe that they're seeing probably so many kids every day.
Yeah, I don't think that the numbers are wrong. I think the reasons for kids to go to the nurse is a culture thing, and I think if you change the culture, there will be less referrals.
So I think we'll let.
I would leave that
instruct
to the-
Mike to
No,
assess
I know.
that.
Of course,
I
and I
just-
know that it's an unpopular opinion.
But
I don't have the medical knowledge to
interventionists
say.
affect academics.
Okay.
So does mental health.
Out-of-state field trip requests, we have 3 of them tonight.
Yes. The first one is a New York City trip to Broadway for the music department.
See what they're seeing.
What
They
do
don't,
see?
probably don't, I don't know.
They
if
might not
yet.
know yet,
Yeah,
sometimes.
he's usually looking at
That's
tickets now.
That's the end of May
Any-
30th.
I'm
It's
sorry. I
May
didn't
30th,
print
it says.
Is there a cost to the student?
The students fundraise usually,
Why don't
and they
I-
have, because they have their own accounts and
Yeah,
they.
they kind of self-fund
Why
it.
don't I make a motion so we can,
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the music department's trip to Broadway for the out-of-state field trip.
Okay.
On,
Tara, second.
just to get them.
Yep.
moving along.
So, I know personally when my daughter was in band, the kids fundraised and they each had their own account, and then they would see if kids didn't have enough, you know. Yeah, so there's no cost listed on here to the students.
Excellent.
I don't know if they have any fundraisers.
So I think we already
I
have
think
a
we already
motion and a
made a
second, we
motion,
just need to
so
vote, all in favor?
Are you
It's unanimous.
Oh, absolutely.
Next one?
Next one is the aerial drone competition to West Virginia. That would be middle and high school students. They have qualified for the regional competition, and we'd like to take both teams down.
I'll move that we approve the out-of-state field trip for the aerial drone competition to the Northeast Regional Championships in West Virginia.
Scott? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Last one. Big
Last one is the world language field trip to Italy. This would be for April 8th to April 17th of 2027. So we're trying to get this approved so we can start to organize parent meetings and start those, the structure of organizing that event.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Can I ask that you amend the motion to have it contingent on, I know when we've voted on ones before, like any geopolitical issues that may present, like.
Yeah, Italy's now Department of Homeland Security too.
I mean, we don't know where we'll be another year from now, I don't.
That's because of the.
Approval contingent on
Safety
safety and security issues.
I would think that the superintendent would should have.
Yeah, but I just wanted,
I
it's
think he has that
approved
authority.
with that condition. Yeah, we did that before on other ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's amended?
Yes, that's
Lauren, you
amended.
good?
Got it.
All right, any other discussion?
Did we have a second?
I did.
Okay.
All in favor? All in favor?
That's Rome and Pompeii, whatever they
Unanimous. Okay. Let's see, we are going on to enhancement grant.
So the aerial drone competition that we just approved.
Now we have to pay for it.
So, we have middle and high school students. The challenge is, there's the first 2 days, I believe is the middle school, and the second 2 days is the high school. But we can't take 2 trips, so it's 1 trip for all 6 kids. We estimated it to be about no more than $6,000 for everything. That's renting a van, that's hotel rooms, that's food, that's entry fees, that's gas. Working with Diane, we're pulling from any possible grants to fund this activity. It's great because it's a middle and high school, which is actually kind of piggybacks off the elementary school.
How's the trust?
The trust is supporting as well.
Well, I move that we approve, is there a limit on this?
No more than 6,000.
All right, so that's what I want, I'll approve that we approve the enhancement grant request for an amount not to exceed 6,000 for the area drone competition.
I'll second, Teresa, thank you.
That's finally, that's good, because it benefits kids.
Well, and some of
directly.
these kids that are gonna go started in the champs area. Remember when you were a judge, and so they've
Yes.
been to nationals.
That's
I
what
think
the
it's
judge
so.
The unfortunate thing is,
Diane.
our kids
I think Diane.
qualified for it too, but they chose not to go this year.
There's only $1,688 left of the enhancement money
Okay.
that we can apply for.
Okay, that's why it says.
Is that why it's such a
1688.
funny amount?
Yes.
I was
For that.
wondering,
Yes.
I was gonna ask.
That's
Oh,
all
so
we
we have
have
to change
left
that
of
motion?
the,
In that grant.
I have to
in
amend that.
that grant,
Thank you.
yeah, and I'm gonna look for.
You're gonna look for other funds.
Yeah.
So the motion should be in the amount of 1680.
8826.
8826.
Correct.
We talk about a tight budget.
1688.
When we're talking about 26 cents.
1688.
1688.
And this might be, so we say no more than 6,000. And talking with Craig,
Yeah,
the middle school parents are very involved. They're probably gonna drive down there, which means that their kids will probably be staying with them. So, and eating with them
So
and,
part of the calculations is the fact that not all of them are using.
No, it'll come down less.
yeah, this is the
Yeah.
maximum.
So-
If we
Oh,
do
if
it
they-
all.
so for the purposes of the minutes, what do we
We're
want the
private.
motion to be?
All that's left is
No more than
1688.
6,000, but for the grant is the 18. or
We're
whatever.
approving just the grant, so it's 168826.
Okay.
That's what's left.
So we're just approving that, and you're just disclosing that it's gonna be no more
It's
than
gonna be
6,000.
Correct.
Understood. So you have that motion that I made, and I don't understand it.
Teresa did.
Teresa did.
All in favor?
I was a sloppy motion, but it works.
Unanimous? Thank you. All right, so we have a lot of policies. Ellen, take it away.
First we have the May meeting date.
Oh,
We
sorry,
have to do the
May meeting date. This is because of me, I'm sorry. I have a business trip the whole week of when our regular meeting is. So I'm requesting that we move our meeting from May 20th. Yes,
Yeah,
so
so
May 20th to May 13th for our regular meeting, building and grounds and finance. I'll make that motion since I'm requesting it. Anybody second?
I'll second it.
Ellen, thank you.
Just give it to Frank.
All in favor? Thanks, guys, unanimous.
Are you going somewhere good?
We'll get our cake.
No,
I think this one.
Pennsylvania, the office.
Scram.
Being a person. Okay, now on to policies.
Yeah, policies, everybody's got the first read, so there's, we've seen those.
So you want to let's list them. So we're
Well,
first.
they were, I mean, you had-
We're out of meeting.
that's okay.
First read of 1205, agenda format, preparation and dissemination. Policy 1350, senior citizens benefits, and policy 5140.1, wellness policy.
And if anybody wants to look at the policies, they're on the website.
I had a little change
Sure, which
on
one?
one of them. On 1205, participation by the public.
Which policy are you on?
1205, first one,
1205,
sorry.
okay, thank you.
I could have just said that, huh? It's so minor. It's, we changed chairman to chair, but down on the bottom, on number 10, board chairman's report, I don't know if we should
Oh, yeah,
change it to
good
chair.
catch. Yep.
Just to match, sorry.
So we're gonna get that to Mary Ann. So it comes for the second read.
You're gonna give that to me?
Yeah.
So this would have to go to Mary Ann for the second read. Just making that one minor change.
It's just like better now.
Anything else? Moving on,
Do you want this? If you-
Mike will take care of it.
Oh,
Mary Ann.
okay.
Yeah,
I was
it's
gonna
a
say I already
minor
have it,
change.
but if you want
The
to-
second read, the emeritus, is policy 4135.11, which is the emeritus emeriti status. That's at a second read, that'll be taken action next month. And now we go into the approvals of the policy that have already been through the first read, already been through the second read, and some edits. And I'm gonna just, I think, just make motions, and so we can do it, and then we can have discussion.
Yeah, so put Ellen down for the motion for all the
Okay,
policies.
so I'm
to
gonna
be
make a
voted on.
motion that we approve the policy 9271 Code of Ethics as presented. Everybody's got all these with all the red lines in their packet, and anybody who wants to look at the policies online, they are online.
Let's get a second.
I'm
Let's
sorry.
get a second.
Awesome, I love it.
Oh, Teresa, second, okay. Tara, what do you have?
Sorry.
Is it this policy, 927?
Code of Ethics?
No, I don't know if I missed something. Did we do,
Emeritus?
no, the wellness policy? Is that not, we're not there?
That's in
That
there.
was the first read.
First,
That's
at the
right.
first read.
Right.
Do you have a change on that?
I did, yeah, sorry, that's where I
Okay, we'll
was.
go back.
Scott was talking. No, I'm just kidding. It's so minor, it's just,
How many highlighters?
First we
Well,
had to separate.
it's A,
Now we have to
so
separate.
this is P5140.1, the wellness policy. It's under B, physical activity. There's just like a, it's so stupid now, sorry, closed bracket there, that like there was no open bracket. I don't know if
Okay.
it matters.
Under which bullet point?
Oh,
the last one.
Yeah, and
Yep.
then it happens again on,
So
on
we're gonna
C.
switch it to Mary Ann too.
He's got it, yeah.
Maybe he's
There's
got
other
it.
closed bracket.
C,
Which one?
C,
C?
part of that, so where and C.
Yeah, C, the last one, the last
The
bullet on
last
C.
bullet again?
Yeah,
Yeah, the last bullet. C.
Last, oh yeah.
I don't know, for whatever it's worth.
Nope,
just figure
it
it's
is, not proper grammar. Thank you.
Yeah, the problem with these, when you try to do grammar checks, they're full of.
Oh, why would it pick it up?
Stuff
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for code of ethics, all in favor? Unanimous, and we have the same, Ellen and Teresa? Okay.
Yep, same motion,
For all
policy,
of them.
I'll say it out loud, just
Yep.
for the purposes of
Yep.
the, motion to approve the policy, 9271.1, confidentiality for directors.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Okay, and then the next policy is policy 9300, method of operation, is presented.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Policy 9310, development, distribution, and maintenance of manual policies and regulations and the bylaws.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Policy 9311, policy adoption, revision, and reaffirmation.
All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you.
Policy 9312, amendments to the bylaws.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Policy 9313, formulation, adoption, amendment of administrative regulations.
All in favor? Unanimous? Getting there.
Policy 9314, suspension of policies, bylaws, and regulations.
All in favor? Unanimous?
And then policy 9320, public meetings.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Policy 9321, time, place, and notifications of meetings.
All in favor? Yep.
Policy 9322, public and executive session.
All in favor?
Approved.
Last one.
And the policy 9323, construction of the agenda.
All in favor?
That one, did we catch your change on that one? Because that was the one where I think you,
I had a
Question about
email
it.
the question,
yeah,
right?
I think they
Yeah.
made the correction, right? I think we
Yeah.
missed the head of school.
Yeah, it's changed.
Yeah,
And that was
it is. Oh,
changed,
totally
okay, just
was.
wanted to
Yeah,
make sure
yeah,
that was the
no.
one.
Yep.
All right, so.
So
anybody
that was
wrote
all in
that.
favor? Unanimous?
So that was like almost a year's worth of policies. We just
Awesome,
removed.
thank you
Good
so
job.
much, that was
Thank
so
you.
much work.
Then we're not done with bylaws, that's half of them.
No, that was part of that.
All right, let's
Ice cream.
cruise through the rest. We're on to head of school report.
Okay, we already did the budget reduction request. I'd like to thank everyone for their support. Again, it's the number, and then it's my job and responsibility to figure that out. I'll keep you updated. Russell, we already talked about that thoroughly. Strategic long-range plan update. Throughout the year, we've been working on that to try and figure out where we want to be in 10 years, where we want the school to look like in 10 years. That hasn't stopped. The next phase is maybe to start talking about the trust, because they are a partner in the Gilbert School. So that process will start soon. And then hopefully, before the end of the year, I can pull all that together and then present to the board that, okay, all the input from the students, the teachers, the admin, the boards, the trust, this is what we want the school to look like in 10 years. And then start working on that plan. And
Can you speak up?
Scheduling. I alluded to that earlier. We are revamping our entire schedule, going from 4 blocks a day to an 8-period static schedule next year, which gives our students English and mathematics every day. So the research is pretty strong on that. That should have a positive impact. That is one of the factors that makes me a little more comfortable with the discussion we had earlier about the academics and the reduction of the aids. Hoping that we can use that schedule to our advantage to try and capture some support for students.
What is it? Go ahead, question. What is
So-
the feedback? What's the feedback from the teachers? Because I remember when they went to the block and they liked the idea of having the longer period, you know, that they could focus, especially like in math. Where they just, because they feel like in 45 minutes or whatever, they're just starting to get going and then it's over, the period's over. But with the block schedule, they had more, they could stay on task longer. Like, I was just curious what their feedback is.
So I've worked in schools that have had 2 different types of block scheduling. I've worked in schools with 7-period days, 8-period days, rotating, stagnant, all of it. I can tell you that any schedule, when it's presented and professional development is given to teachers, you have a greater chance of success. But there's strengths and weaknesses to every schedule. So block schedule is not a good schedule for a 14-year-old boy who hates math and is going to sit in that class for an hour and a half. Not a good...
Or a 14-year-old girl who hates math.
Or a 14-year-old girl.
Because that was me.
Anyway, so as far as the teachers, some teachers like it, some teachers don't. But that's the same thing with going to the block. The other piece too is, with the block schedule, if you don't know how to teach in the block, like you're coming from a 45-minute class that you're used to teaching, and now you're teaching a 90-minute class, and you haven't received and embraced professional development to understand how to engage kids for an hour and a half, that could be brutal.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a class where students struggle in that content area. You have to be a dynamic teacher and like Julie McCoy and with different things every 15 minutes. That's backwards reference for you.
I know Julie McCoy, guys.
So,
I'm old enough to know
That's a
that.
little...
no, you know what I was talking about. So my point is that teachers, some teachers like the idea of going to the 8-period day because they have their students every day. Some people don't like it because science labs. It's tough to kind of get everything in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
AP classes. So there's strengths and weaknesses to both. I think that with a 7 through 12 school where there's shared faculty between middle and high school, you're better off with one schedule and you're better off with a 8-period, in my opinion, 8-period because of the middle school.
That's what we used to have, so.
I think Teresa was next then, Frank.
So, is it just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's no rotation, there's no nothing? Is there any concern, and this just because of my work popped into my head, like, you know, when the baseball team goes to play an away game 3 days a week in a crunch and they're getting out 20 minutes early to meet the bus to get to Nanawaga on time, they're always gonna miss the same class. So if it's a kid who plays soccer, not basketball because those are later, baseball, like, they're always missing that same content area. Is anybody worried about it? You're not worried, okay.
Because here's why. If that was a block schedule, then you're missing an hour and a half of content. with an 8-period day, you're missing 45 minutes. So you can catch up on that much, much easier.
And you see the teacher every day.
Right, so it's in smaller bites, so you're missing small things. The other problem with the block schedule, every other day, we ran into it this year, almost every one of our snow days was on a
My kid
B
was so
day.
mad
Yes.
at this.
So
Yeah.
we had to adjust our schedule and put like 3 B days in a row because the AP teachers that are teaching AP Bio or AP Calc, and they have a B day, they miss so much content because it's an hour-and-a-half class that they're missing. So with the 48-minute class, it's not as impactful if you miss it.
Frank?
Yes. This should be your selling point on the whole budget issue. Not the money, but how you're changing things for teaching the kids better. That should be your selling point, not whether we have 300,000 or 200,000, but I've changed, we have not discussed one thing downtown since November on any curriculum change.
Frank, if I thought that selling curriculum changes
But at least-
would make a difference, I would be doing that on the street corner.
To me, that would be why it's costing, whatever the cost is up here for the education. Because you're making changes, you're new here, same way was Louis. You're seeing that there's things that have to change to make it better for our kids.
Because you're talking with someone who's got a lot of experience.
But I'm just
and
saying,
knows his budget,
that
why,
should be
yeah.
the word going out of this building.
Tara?
I just want to say, I was going to say something else, but my opinion is that's the role of the board, is to be the connection to the community as well. And the board members for the Board of Education that sit on the Gilbert board are also responsible for, they're the liaison.
I've been saying that to people.
Well, I'm saying that to you though too.
I know, but just saying.
That is also the role and responsibility as a liaison, is to carry that message forward to share with the Board of Education, which connects to the community. So this would be, I think, a good opportunity. I was going to ask about the block schedule. I know that was always a question that I had was my understanding. I don't know a ton about curriculum, but my understanding was that the block schedule. Some people, teachers may not have felt comfortable or ever really had learned to teach to that particular schedule. So in reverse, and the B day thing is so because my kid was right off of spring break was like, man, I got 3 B days in a row. For those that may not be familiar, or if you have newer teachers who maybe come on in the past couple of years, is there going to be a transition or an opportunity to learn to kind of teach to, you need to teach to the smaller schedule.
Classes?
Yeah.
So newer teachers would get a mentor,
Okay.
somebody who's a better teacher, and help them walk through. I'll give you a good example. In the science department, in the middle school, we have 2 aspiring teachers that are getting their certification right now. We have our department chair that's working with them, helping them design lessons, how to work through the lesson, how to do labs, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So they're usually paired up with another
You
teacher.
could do PD too, right?
Yeah, this PD as well.
I remember when they switched to block, because it was, I'm guessing around 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
I would say it's harder to go from
Static.
Short to long or long to
to
short?
block, yes, correct.
This is going to be an easy.
It was a big
It's
change.
an easier transition.
Yeah.
It was a big, it was a very.
This is a more conventional
It was a
way
lot
of
of
discussion,
discussion.
right? It's more.
When I did my student teaching I was in the 7 through 12, and it was 7 to 8 was every class every day. It's a huge difference.
I look forward to seeing the results.
Yeah, sure.
Moving on to the Board of Education report. Winchester.
Sorry.
Wait, he told me it was done.
Did we miss the featured teacher?
Yeah, it's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda, you can't.
Feature teacher.
Yeah, you can't skip a teacher.
No, please do.
No.
I like featuring
I only have
teacher.
1 this time, so I can add it to, so I'll bring 2 next time.
Okay.
Oh.
I was joking.
See, Teresa. Board of Education
Please put it in the
report.
minutes that
Winchester.
I got it.
Teresa said
Don't worry.
that she doesn't like
Yeah.
teachers. Yeah, correct myself.
I think the teachers are great. I wasn't the one who forgot them.
Jonathan.
Budget passed with the reduction it did, and we anticipate town meeting and we'll go to referendum and we'll see how that goes.
The reduction it did.
Shane, Frank, anything else? Shane, you had anything? Frank, anything from Winchester?
Have you guys kept track of your hours?
Oh, God.
I mean, I can't even imagine
I don't
how
wanna,
many
I
hours.
don't
I
wanna
haven't
think
done it.
about it.
I don't think about it, because I did it, I had a law case when I was a manager with New York City. And the case went 15 years, but the court said we could only do 3 years. So they wanted timesheets from all the managers. I had kept my timesheets and had them signed, because I was told when I became a manager that the city of New York was it didn't follow the federal labor law. So I found out that I was one of the highest hourly working managers. And the guy looked at me and he says, "You're only supposed to be there for 35 hours. I says, "Yeah, well, that's not what the job was."
Well, I appreciate you guys being on Winchester's board and coming up here though, because it's a tough road. It's not easy.
I
know.
still,
Yeah.
if I could say,
No,
it would be
I
nice
just
if
think
we
it's
could
nice to have volunteers.
reorganize and be one administration.
Yeah.
One, I don't know where that'll go, I mean, what that saves, but that's what people look at. They want to know why I'm
It's
paying for two.
collaboration.
Why
Yeah.
I'm paying for two operations.
So Frank,
They do
Yes.
that
we
with-
are
they do
doing
that
a
with-
study.
Well, I haven't heard anything about it,
You
other than
will
we
at
voted for
committee,
it.
you
Okay,
will
this
at committee.
isn't Gilbert Board, we're gonna bring it back in.
There you go.
We're addressing it.
School Corp Chairs,
I was just thinking, you know,
School Corporation Chairman's Report. I would like to remind everybody there's a town budget meeting now that we've
did they say
made our
that?
cut. Yes, Monday, May 11th at 7 a.m. at the Gilbert Auditorium here.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, sorry.
That's kind of.
Okay,
And I'm like, I'll be here.
And then I just want to again thank
Breakfast
Mr. Susi for coming to us prepared with a cut and suggesting it, and for this board to have the discussion and vote unanimously. So thank you all for that.
That's the day I get surgery, so I
Okay. No, who's got the motion to adjourn? Scott.
It's always
Yes.
Jonathan's, I thought.
Well, it's usually
Well,
Jonathan a
Jonathan,
second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I'm not in work tomorrow, look to Diane.
Diane, yes.
Pretty sure that's the way
She
it
is.
is too.
It's a good
Wait,
idea.
we're not going to park this, we'll do the parking lot
It's a
right
good
now.
idea to mention to the beginning of the meeting, because that was perfect.
When you're not getting retired, you go by and you still don't